Hi everyone, I'm Phil from Phil's Train Layout. So here I am in the train room again. So what I'm going to do this weekend is I'm going to continue on this little section that I started last week. What I'm going to be doing is just trimming out some of the areas, getting the risers glued into place, and right in here I just need to trim this just a little bit because I have a little tiny bit of a high spot right here, so that the transition for the track, there's no hump or anything like that in there. So I just need to just trim this back with a blade, and all I'll do is just slowly trim it down just a little bit, just so that it's nice and flat. So stick around for a little bit and I'll keep you updated on my progress. Hi everyone, I'm back. So right now, I think I'm going to just take these risers here and I'm going to get them glued into place. Then I can use my piece of track to lay it here on top of the risers, just so I can look in here and just see how much more I just need to shave that down just a little bit, just so I can make sure that's nice and smooth. And when you lay a piece of track down, you can see any little gaps underneath here, and that will tell you that you have a bit of a high spot in one area. I'll show you that as soon as I get the risers in, and then I'll show you how I fix that. So I now have the risers all siliconed in place, and the silicone that I use is just your standard DAP acrylic latex caulking. Actually, it dries in like 30 minutes or so, and it's paintable, so which kind of works out, because you don't want to leave something that's unpaintable, because then it wouldn't work very well and stuff wouldn't stick to it. And I do know that paint does stick to this stuff really well. So what I need to work on now is right in this spot here. So you can see the transition of the track. The track is laying on this section here really nicely. And then when you get to here, you can see that little gap under there. So that means where the track is touching up there, I just need to trim that down just a little bit, just to make that transition just a little bit smoother. So I'm going to trim away on some of that, and I'll come back and show you after I've got it fixed. Okay, so I've done a bunch of trimming, and I've got it actually pretty close. So I can probably mask that off after when I put one quick little layer of plaster cloth on here. And then of course the cork rope bed will go on top of that, which will also hide and fix part of the subtle little tiny bit of a gap that I have left there now. So I've done a pretty good job at trimming that down, just to make that transition really nice and smooth. So now I'm going to cut out a few pieces of plaster cloth, and I'm just going to put a layer just in this section here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Sculpt-A-Mold just to blend this down, blend it into this little hillside here, and the same in this section here. Just blend all that together, and then I'll probably do that with the side of this hill. Just kind of blend it in just a little bit right there, just to make the transition just a little better. So I'm gonna go cut some plaster cloth, get a little bit of warm water, and then I'll put that in place. So I'll be using this plaster wrap. This is something that I got at, I believe I got this at Michael's. It was actually fairly inexpensive, and it does just as good of a job as the regular plaster cloth of the big name brands and everything. So what I've done is I've cut it all into little strips, and these little strips like that will fit just on the top, just like that. That way I can start at the top, I'll layer it all the way down, smooth it out, and then I can fill in some of these extra voids and everything over at the side. Maybe I could fill some of this in and not have to use as much of the Sculptamold to fill in all these little voids here. I can just cover over it and hide it underneath, and then just use the Sculptamold in these little sections here just to blend in the scenery. So I'm going to set you down over here, and I will start laying this cloth out. Okay, there we go. So I have one full layer of plaster cloth on there. Put a couple little extra pieces in there. I started to blend the little corners in there. I hid that gap that was beside the track there. So now I'm going to mix up some of my Sculptamold, which is not actually Sculptamold. It's called Celluclay, but it's a paper mache style. What I did find with this last time I used it, it did take forever to dry. I came down like 3 days later, and the stuff was still not dry. But once it dried, it is actually fairly good. So, in my perils of wisdom, I've decided to use some plaster of Paris. So I'm going to put a couple scoops of plaster of Paris in here, because this stuff is supposed to dry and set in 20 to 30 minutes. So that still gives me some play time to be able to manipulate it the way I want it and and smooth it out in areas. So I'm going to put a little bit of that in there and mix that up and give that a try. Okay, so I probably ended up with about 50-50 of, or maybe 70-30 plaster Paris to that paper mache clay mix. So I may have made a little bit too much here, but that's okay. So I'll just start spreading this on here, putting it all in place. I've still got about 20-30 minutes for the plaster of Paris, so I figured I should have plenty of time to manipulate this and mold it and shape it to however I kind of want it to go, and mix these areas in, blend them. You know, I must say, using this already compared to the last time with the plaster of Paris in it, much better. Yeah, I'm actually really happy with this. It is actually very pliable, moldable, and I think I actually may have made the last batch a little bit too wet, and that's probably why it wasn't sticking very well. So but I must say, I am very happy with this. So now I have all of the sculpt mold in place. It's actually starting to dry fairly good. So now I can start to manipulate it, shape it a little bit. I'll probably just go upstairs, make another coffee, and just let this set just a little bit more, to which it is curing actually very fast. I am actually very happy with that mixture. So I think I put in a quarter of plaster Paris to 3/4 of that paper mache sculpt mold. So it is actually drying very quickly. So that makes me happy. But I'm going to go for a coffee, and then I'm going to come back. I'm going to smooth that out a little bit more before it fully cures, and we'll go from there. Yep, now that it's pretty dry, I can just add a little bit of water to my fingers and just smooth out some of these little rough areas here. I want to make sure that where the road bed is going to be nice and smooth. Oh, little high spot right there. And of course, it is sandable, so you can always, after you smooth it out for your road bed or whatever you want smooth, like a road, or you can always just run a little piece of sandpaper over top of it. Just finish off any little spots that are protruding up. Yeah, I think it was about maybe 20 minutes that I was upstairs sipping on a coffee and came back. So it still is fairly workable at the moment. You know, I would imagine it would probably be well into tomorrow before I can get a full cure on this, but that's okay, because you know, maybe I'll work on something else on the layout in a different corner. And you know, I figure this spot right here, you know, with this old track that was right here that I'm not going to be using anymore. You know, maybe when they reconstructed this area, they cut through here, they threw some of the dirt up on the top up here, just to get it out of the way, and then it was overgrown with brush. Yeah, lots of stories that you can make about why something looks the way it does. You know, and it's like everybody says, you know, it's your layout, it's your story. You know, you've got you know why you've done certain areas and certain things. You know, and I could have actually added a little bit of color to this, you know, before I put it in. I think I mentioned that last time when I did something like this, that gee, and I think one of my subscribers actually mentioned the same thing, that gee, you should have put some color in that, and then you didn't have to worry about painting it later. So I think I was all excited about, you know, doing some more to the layout and working on this section a little bit more, that I totally forgot about it again. So, but that's okay. Just gives me something else to do now. You know, actually, the way this is drying, it probably won't take long. Probably maybe a couple hours. And then this will all be... Sorry about my arm in the way. That was kind of rude. Yeah, I do actually think I'm going to continue using this this type of sculpt mold. This is the stuff I got at Michael's, and just add a little bit of plaster Paris to it, and it's working great. Way different than the first time I tried it, and I'm actually liking it a lot more now. Okay. I think that's all I'm going to do for this. I'm just thinking I'm going to clean up that little spot in the other area that I put in, and leave it for there until tomorrow, or maybe later today. All depends on how fast it dries. I'll paint it, get a coat of paint on there so it blends in, and then maybe I'll put the cork road bed on and put the track back on. But we'll see what happens. Hi everyone. So it's the next morning. It's Sunday morning now. So down here checking out the stuff, and it's almost dry. You know, it's still very light damp. So what I think I'm going to do anyway is I'm just going to paint this up and throw some scenics down on it, put some grass and whatnot down, and tidy this up, because I'm not going to work on it through the week anyway, so that'll give everything a complete week to dry before I play around with anything next weekend. So two of my favorite base colors that I use are Hunter Green and Burnt Umber. Those are just two cheap model paints that, or not model paints, just acrylic paint from the dollar store. It's all I use. I just pour a little on here, just as a base. Put a little on the edge, because I'm going to have some grass along here. I'm going to have grass along this area as well. So I can be generous with the paint on here, basically, because I'm going to use it to also help attach all of my ground cover. So instead of doing it in 2 steps, I'm just doing it in 1 step, and then you can just add a little bit later on. So I'm just going to continue painting this, and then I will come back and I will show you what it looks like after I have everything together. Okay, so it's been about 5 hours since I put the road bed on and did all the detailing. So I'll just give you a quick view of this right now. and then I'll come back a few hours from now and I'll take all those bottles off and I'll give you a quick view of everything after it's all set up. Hi everybody. So it is now Monday evening. Everything's all dried up and I've got a couple little touch-ups to do and everything, but because right in that area there I've got a couple little white patches. Obviously I think I missed that when I was doing some of the detailing, but quick overview and quick look at everything I've done. So this is the track that was put in. Got all bushes and detailing and all of that. And that is the section of track that was removed. And also right in here where that dump truck is. So let's give it a quick little test. See what happens. Well, I'd say that's a pretty successful test. Those stupid cars, they just do not like going in reverse. Now, other than that car failing and derailing on me, I would say that's a pretty successful test. So that's all I'm going to do for this week. Next week, I think I am going to attempt this one and get some of these tracks all swapped out and changed out and modified, so that I can start to complete that circle. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Stay safe.